Right now, institutional analysts evaluating the AI boom are locked in a waiting game. They are looking for hard statistical evidence that artificial intelligence is making the economy more efficient, a metric formerly known as total factor productivity. To understand what they are looking for, we have to look at the Solow growth equation. This mathematical model calculates overall economic output, Y, based on the inputs of labor, capital, and this A term, which represents expected technological efficiency. Economists expect this new efficiency to manifest as a productivity J-curve. That is, a specific statistical pattern where massive upfront investment causes an initial dip before productivity sharply accelerates upward. But this specific chart has a built-in lag. Historically, it takes anywhere from 5 to 15 years for a major technological shift to fully reorganize business operations and finally show up in national GDP data. Treating AI strictly as a zero-friction software multiplier creates a severe analytical blind spot. Because pure code scales with near-zero marginal cost, looking only for delayed efficiency gains obscures the massive physical footprint AI is actively carving into the real world right now. We must model AI completely differently. Instead of waiting for a delayed software multiplier, we must treat AI agents as a rapidly expanding, near-infinite new demographic that directly adds to the labor and demand inputs of the economy. Shifting our view from delayed efficiency to immediate demographic expansion allows us to measure the true physical scale of the revolution today, completely bypassing the wait for lagging economic statistics. Let's examine how macroeconomists typically measure the expansion of the labor supply, the L term in our growth equation. Human labor expansion operates under severe, hard-coded constraints. To grow a traditional workforce, you rely on birth rates, which carry a 20-year maturation delay, immigration, which is throttled by strict political quotas, or delaying retirement, which hits an absolute biological ceiling. This split screen highlights the contrast. Left, human labor flattens against biological boundaries. Right, a different trajectory. That vertical step function is our new demographic, the AI agent population. It replaces biological limits with physical ones. The constraints are power generation, semiconductor manufacturing, land, and cooling water. While those are hard, tangible bottlenecks, they are vastly wider and more elastic than the narrow pathways of human population growth. Because those boundaries are so wide, the deployment scale is already staggering. When you aggregate individual API calls, autonomous software agents, and internal enterprise systems, this digital population has already reached into the tens of billions. And this population is strictly rooted in reality. It dwells in highly dense physical infrastructure. By injecting billions of active agents into the global network almost overnight, we are witnessing an immediate, massive labor expansion that completely bypasses the traditional 20-year maturation delay of human demographics. There is a second major error in how we typically evaluate this digital workforce. Analysts routinely assume that because AI agents execute labor, they do not act as consumers. That is mathematically incorrect. AI agents are massive consumers. Their consumption profile is simply radically different from a human's. This dual engine diagram illustrates the difference. Traditional human demand is highly dispersed across thousands of sectors: groceries, rent, clothing, and travel. Conversely, the AI demand engine is hyper-concentrated, channeling strictly into 4 industrial pillars: electricity, semiconductors, land, and data centers. To grasp the sheer scale of this concentrated demand, we look directly at global power projections. By 2026, the estimated electricity consumption for global data centers will reach 1,050 terawatt-hours. This bar chart ranks global national energy consumers. At 1,050 terawatt-hours, the AI data center footprint surges to the number 5 position worldwide. As an independent nation, it would be the 5th largest energy consumer, sitting squarely between Japan and Russia. Satisfying a sovereign-level appetite requires immense physical manufacturing ecosystems running around the clock. AI expands the labor force while simultaneously acting as a massive demand engine. It perfectly mirrors the economic boost of a traditional demographic dividend, except every ounce of that new demand is channeled directly into heavy infrastructure. Why is it strictly necessary to measure this physical infrastructure footprint instead of just evaluating the software's intellectual capabilities? Because pure software upgrades leave almost no physical trace in the macroeconomy. Code can be replicated infinitely with near-zero marginal cost, rendering pure software iterations virtually invisible on industrial balance sheets. To confirm we are experiencing a true structural shift, we must examine the physical evidence left by actual historical industrial revolutions. This chart tracks historical consumption. Revolutions create vertical spikes, the coal curve during the first industrial revolution, followed by the electricity curve. Overlaying the 2024 to 2030 AI power curve matches perfectly. U.S. consumption jumps from 4 to 17% by 2030. To translate that percentage into raw volume, U.S. data centers consumed 183 terawatt-hours in 2024. That is an amount of electricity strictly equal to the annual usage of the entire country of Pakistan. An entirely software-based efficiency bump could not physically generate a demand curve of this magnitude. This massive physical footprint serves as the undeniable accounting hallmark of a true structural industrial revolution. We can pivot from energy consumption projections to the actual hard dollars being deployed right now to build out this capacity. This financial data is anchored in the physical reality of grid upgrades, heavy electrical transformers and transmission lines moving massive loads of newly generated power. To meet this precise demand, United States utility companies are planning $1.4 trillion in capital expenditures. That $1.4 trillion figure represents a 27% year-over-year surge. It is precisely double the total utility investment of the entire previous decade. This capital triggers immediate physical action across the infrastructure sector. It puts heavy industrial earth-moving equipment into the dirt, carving out new foundation trenches today. This $1.4 trillion utility capital expenditure is a hard accounting metric. It is the inescapable physical trace of the new AI population taking residence in the real economy. This brings us completely back to the overarching macroeconomic debate we started with. Returning to the solo growth equation, we update it based on the physical evidence. We fade out the A term entirely. Our focus shifts strictly to the inputs, the L of the AI agent population, and the K of the massive capital expenditures required. AI operates as a dual-engine demographic dividend. It expands the labor supply limitlessly, while simultaneously generating highly concentrated physical demand. Economic strategists and analysts no longer need to wait for debates over future total factor productivity statistics to resolve. The sheer physical scale of this revolution is already securely written into global power grids and utility capital expenditures. We can physically trace the current. The reading of the data has already occurred. The AI revolution is a present physical and accounting reality, not a future prediction.